What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode. Oh, all right. We catch you at a bad
Sorry. No,
time.
I was hoping it would be done by the time you came on, but hey everybody.
Hey.
Ain't that it? Ain't that it? Welcome to another episode of Hey Pumpkin. I know it's been a minute since you've seen us. Happy holidays,
Oh yes.
happy Thanksgiving, uh, all of the things.
Merry Christmas. Shit.
All of the
What else
above.
do we miss?
Right.
Halloween. Happy Halloween.
Halloween.
Yes,
Hmm.
yes, yes. But here we are back again, back again. What Lil Kim said, I've been gone for a minute, but I'm back with the jump off. I love,
Oh, come on.
oh, that's your kind of music.
Absolutely.
Oh, man. Anyway, how's everybody doing?
Doing well.
Are you? That was real dry.
It
It
was
it
because
was
I
real
don't know.
convincing.
I say I'm doing well, but I'm just tired. But it's okay.
Mm,
I'll make it through
mm.
like I do.
Why you telling somebody that's really in a struggle? I'll make it through like I always do. So dramatic. So
Absolutely.
dramatic.
Behavior,
Anyway,
that's what the people say.
ain't that it? Anyway, how are you doing, Brian?
I'm doing well. I getting ready to possibly have some weather. I'm looking forward possibly to having a work from home day tomorrow, so we can cross our fingers. So far, it is not snowing yet, so yeah.
Mm. Well, sometimes it don't really hit till like midnight.
After midnight. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yep.
because you'll
Then you
think,
wake up in the morning. They say 4 inches, it be
yeah,
7.
yeah, that's
Oh.
true. That's true. So
Mm-hmm.
you got time still.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, yeah. You got time. Anyway, what y'all been up to in this time away?
Oh, I did a staycation and it was amazing.
Oh,
I
okay.
stayed in a nice hotel, stayed in the suite, had room service, drank some wine at the bar, had a massage, got my nails done. I cheated on my nail tech and she knew it. As soon as I went back to her, she said, "Where did you get these nails done?" I said, "Sorry, I cheated. Never do that again because it was a mess." But it was very relaxing and it was a good time.
Okay. All right.
And that was just there in Dallas.
Yep.
Nice.
I met up with that man right there, and we had a amazing lunch. And I go to Papa Do's often, but we got these crab fingers. Amazing. They were
Oh yeah,
so
yeah. They're really,
delicious. Yeah, I was like,
they're really
they
good.
got crab. Because when they said crab fingers, I thought it was like crab, and it was like a. I thought it would be like a mozzarella stick, but it was actually the knuckle or the claws of the
Mhm.
crab, like covered with sauce, and they had one that was fried and one was sauce. They were really, actually, really, really good. So
Hmm.
it was a it was a
They're really
good,
good. Yeah.
refreshing time just to be take a little time away from the hustle and bustle.
Hmm.
Nice.
I would agree. I would agree. What about you, Brian? What you been up to? Working hard?
Not really. No, I think things have kind of slowed down
Damn.
for me. So no, there really hasn't been a whole lot going on. I've DJed a couple times, but not anything out of the ordinary. So yeah, things have kind of slowed down for me, and I'm actually not complaining about that. So it's
Okay.
been good.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll pick up yet in the new year. A lot of
No
things coming
worries.
on. I know you guys have the leather party in January, and
Yep.
then I'm sure you'll be booked and busy, despite your
Mhm.
haters.
Oh, boy, bye. What you been doing while you talking smack?
Sweetie, I just been just working for the man every night and day. I feel like Tina, man. I tell you these
Tis the
days,
season for you.
yeah, it is, and so it's been not as bad. But the getting up at 4:30 every morning is a little rough.
Yeah.
Oh
The
yeah.
older I get, the harder it is. So I'm like, eh. So, but it's cool. It's cool. But the highlight of my recent things is we recently went to go see the Boy Is Mine tour,
Oh, how
and
was that?
I know you went
Hmm.
previously. You went on
Yes.
opening night, Mama Kim, but
Hmm.
So yeah, UNP went on the opening night, which is that was I mean, it was nice, but this was I dare I say it was amazing. Because um it was just so nostalgic, you know. Seeing these ladies really get out there and do their thing. On in such a large scale. And then they, a couple of places they've sold out the arenas and such. So it's just like they just getting their just dues. And these, you know, I want to say I grew up listening to them because we're all the same age, but I matured listening to them, and some of their music got me through some rough patches. But it was really good seeing them. Kelly Rowland killed it, looked amazing. Uh, Even Keisha Cole, because she was on the one on this or this
Now
night.
that's good. I wish Keisha Cole was at. Not saying Nina Long or not Money Long didn't do good, but I would have enjoyed to see Keisha Cole.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love Keisha Cole. She
She didn't
she was only
disappoint.
on. She was only on. No, she didn't disappoint. She was only up there for what 7, 8 minutes. Feel like,
Okay. Okay.
but it was good all around. Brandy killed it. Monica killed it. Even though it felt like certain areas they might have been a track playing, but when they sang, they really sang. But again, it was to me, it was just great overall. Um,
Mhm.
and the highlight for me was I got to meet her.
Aw,
Yeah,
that was a good
Nice.
photo.
yeah. So it was kind of like I was so nervous prior to getting up there, or waiting in line. And so when I got there, we were ready to take my picture and stuff like that. So she was kind of looked at me. She said, trying to emulate me, just standing still and upright and stuff like that. And then so I took my picture. She was like, "Well, come here, act like you know me." Stuff like that. So we took the picture. And then after me was your loving son. And so he get up there. I should have put his picture up there, but she we saw him and everything like that, and she was like, "Damn, are you single?" So
You're single for the night.
I
Shit.
was yeah. So she was like, "Yeah." So then he was like, "No, that was my husband that just took the picture." And so she was like, "Oh, damn." Allegedly, he said she was like, she made the comment like he didn't look like he was into men. I didn't hear that part of it. Funny that I heard the rest of the conversation, but if you want to take that and roll with it, I'm gonna let him roll with it. But anyway, it was cute. It was
So
it
that
was
was his story.
yeah. So we'll let him have it. But it was cute, and but it was really cool, and it was like everybody that was there that did the meet and greet were like in awe of her, and they were like everybody walked away. It was almost like something, I don't know, I want to say something amazing really happened because everybody walked away. Once you took your picture, you were quiet because you're just trying to soak it all in and take it all in.
Mhm.
And she was super cool, like she was personable, all those type of things. There was this young man that took a picture before me. I have to show y'all offline what his picture looked like. But anyway, and then it'll tell the full story. But anyway, because I was looking at him sideways because in the line he was like, you know, he looked. It was how people just look at you, and so he was looking at me and he was like, you know, who you look like, and I was like, who? He going this motherfucker gonna say John Amos. You look like a young John Amos. I was like, the fuck?
Some good times.
Good times, exactly. I was like, what? Oh no! So he trying to clean up. Oh no, no, no. I'm from the arts and everything like that, and so I see that. But John Amos is really good looking. I was like, man, if you don't get the fuck
Yeah, that
away
was
from me
not a
with that
compliment. I'm
bullshit.
sorry.
See, that was
That
not
was
a
not a
compliment, bitch.
compliment.
That was
Oh,
shady. You look like
but when I show you this photograph, you're gonna be like,
baby. It looked like you grew up in the projects. That's what he was saying. Cause this
exactly.
this
That's what he's
fine.
trying to say. So I'm like, okay, okay, that's cute and everything, but
John Miss, nah, baby. Not
right.
even a young that he had a strong ass face. Mm,
Exactly, he did.
John Mayman, nah. I wouldn't gave you that one. I'd be like, what? Like, bitch, you just offended me. You lucky he ain't go off on his ass.
Oh, I
Shit.
wasn't gonna go off on him. That's the old me.
Oh, that's fair.
That's the old me.
He said John.
Anyway, so I
Jesus.
just did y'all a picture. Take a gander. Um, of the young man that made the comment. I was like, mother, you know, um, but anyway,
Oh,
all in all, it was a
what he got on?
listen. He got in line time. I've been waiting 30 years for this, and we were like, and that's what you decide to wear, and that's okay.
Baby, he
So
looked like what's the one dude from Green Mile while he was talking.
So why? So I had to consider the source when you talking about I look like John Amos, and so look at him. But anyway, but again, it was a great time.
Hmm.
Baby, he
So
done made his outfit.
yeah,
I'm not
yeah,
mad
I
at him.
was kind of
I
jealous
like
that
them
Pete got
too.
to go twice, but it was good. It was good all around. So
So you only got to meet Brandy, not Monica?
yeah. We only did the Brandy meet and greet, even though she was right. There was in the same room taking the pictures.
Mm-hmm.
But and some people took their picture with Brandy and then snuck their way over there. But we was towards the back of the line, so by the time we got up, she was already gone. Her line wasn't quite as long, but no shade. Anyway,
That's why I'm like, Monica's beautiful. That's why I'm like, oh, okay.
it was a great really was a great time. It was a great time. So
Okay.
all right, so let's get into it, guys. You know, this is the holidays is the time of year where a lot of people go through I don't want to say a rough time, the rough patches, but it's not always the best time of year for some people. Some people are, grieving, because sometimes you have the loss of a loved one around this time of year.
Mm-hmm.
Some people are alone, and so
Mm-hmm.
that causes them to feel a certain way. And just a variety of reasons that the holidays may not be so happy for some people. So today we're going to talk a little bit about therapy. And Brian was the one that brought this to the forefront for us and everything like that. So I want to start off with a little clip of a young lady talking about reasons or reasons that she feels are reasons we should, people should go to therapy. So let's take a look at that and then we'll get into it.
Sure.
For no real reason besides to remind you to take care of yourself, here are some reasons why you should go to therapy. Even if you think you're the kind of person that doesn't need it, because everyone could benefit. 1. Any kind of life transition, whether it's a career change, an engagement, planning for a baby, moving. 2. Mourning the loss of someone or something, going through a breakup, losing a loved one, losing a pet, going through a divorce, or being the child of a divorce. 3. To heal any past trauma or stressful experiences. This could be an emotional trauma or physical. It could be prolonged or short term. 4. To cope with any kind of environmental stressor, whether it's just learning how to deal with conflict better or communicate your feelings better, or just having that space to vent. And number 5, dealing with any kind of stressful symptoms to your mental health. Feeling hopeless, feeling anxious, feeling like you don't want to be here anymore, feeling like you're stuck. Anyways, that was just 5 categories of reasons. I'm sure I could think of more. But if any of those resonated with you, please take the steps you need for yourself. Go to psychologytoday.com to find a therapist.
All right, guys. So what are your thoughts on therapy?
As a recent therapy goer, I was like when she was saying how people say I don't need therapy. After I guess 18 to 58, never going to therapy before, worked in the mental health field before, um, and never. I'm a talker, so I was like, oh, I don't need therapy. I'm good. But recently, just the stress of a different environment at work has caused me to need to talk to somebody, and it is very relaxing, and it gives me another perspective of how to cope with being that person who people pour on top of, not pour into, but pour in on top of. So if you have trauma, and I'm always that one that's being the calming them down and talking them through it, and you know the one person particularly like lost his mother, his aunt, and his wife back to back to back to back. And he came back to work, and he didn't really say anything at first, and then one day he just broke down crying, and I was like, oh my god, and blah 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 blah. But always that one to take on other people's traumas, and I'm like, I have my own trauma, and now talking to a therapist is definitely helping me navigate through. my boundaries and when to say no and to say no, I can't handle it. Or if somebody comes with trauma, hey, give me a moment so I can process it and then come back and maybe listen. But I take on a lot of people's traumas, and I was like, I have my own trauma. Like I have to really kind of protect my boundaries, and I haven't. So learning how to do that and going to therapy is definitely helping me get to that role of self awareness and having my own peace and boundaries.
Okay. Okay. What say you, Brian?
So I don't currently go to therapy, but I have in the past, and I will say that I found it to be a valuable experience. And so we're talking, I want to say probably 17, 18 years old at the time. Um, and I learned a lot of things that have been valuable all the way up until today. Um, it's sometimes just being a matter of being able to, I'm a similar person, Mama Kim, in terms of, I will say I probably seek out being a helpful person to people who are dealing with their own traumas, um, and most of the time I don't mind it. In fact, I feel good trying, being a support system for those people. But um, I also have learned that sometimes you have to be able to step away and say, I can't help you right now.
That's right.
And that was kind of what motivated me to bring up this entire topic, and that was the question, is it okay, or can you, and if so, how do you tell someone, hey, you might need to go to therapy, or if they're already going, to say, hey, this is something that I see you struggling with. Maybe you should talk to your therapist about this. And surprisingly, there are very few resources out there that talk about whether or not it's even appropriate to broach that topic with somebody. Being that both of you actively do go, I kind of thought it'd be a good topic for you guys to, I'm pretty far removed from it at this point in life, but you guys, it's fresh for you guys. So I wondered what your perspective on that was. If somebody came to you and said, hey, maybe you need to be talking about this.
I have experienced that where somebody said this is probably something you should unpack. And um, mm, sometimes it seems a little offensive, or maybe you may be on the
Yeah.
guard a little bit. So when somebody first says it, you might be like, "What? What do you mean?" But really, after really giving some thought, it would be right, and I would eventually end up talking to my therapist about it as such, to unpack whatever that may be. I am very much so in favor of therapy, because my phone's ringing. Sorry. Um, Very much so in favor of therapy, because I feel like it's necessary. Um, there is something to be said about an unbiased um, thought process, or unbiased thinking, or unbiased advice, so to speak. Because sometimes, even when you're talking to your friends or something like that, there's still a certain bias associated with that. So somebody who's not biased, to be able to give you the roadmap for healing, I think is very much so important.
Yes.
So um, I started therapy probably maybe 12 years ago. Um, and then stopped when, like, moving from Indiana to Georgia, to Georgia, to Texas. And then it's been helpful. Well, let me say this though. It's helpful when you do the work. And I think as of lately, I've been more apt to do the work, that, the homework assignments that have been assigned and stuff like that, because I realize you can only get out of it what you put into it. And so it's not just a unloading session. It's you really have to be able to do the things that are assigned to you, so to speak, so that you can become better. Excuse me, for whatever that, for whatever reason you may be going to therapy, you have to put the work in to get what you need out of it, which I find is to be very much so important. So, and you have to be willing to hear the rough, the tough things, because it's not going to be, again, with it being an unbiased opinion or unbiased perspective. That's what the word, unbiased perspective. You're not going to always hear. They're not going to be telling you what you want to hear. They're going to tell you what you need to hear, and I appreciate that. Um, One of the things I said at my written initial therapist, she was a Caucasian female that was, I want to say she might have been in her 50s or so at the time. And so it's not, that we didn't connect or bond. I think what our bond was that she adopted two kids from Honduras or something like that. So that was our bond. Her adopting those kids and me being adopted was like our bond and everything like that. So that's how we kind of um, and initially saw each other, so to speak. But when I left Indiana and moved to Texas, I was like, I want a therapist that sees me a little bit more. So I now have an African American therapist who specializes in the LGBT, um, and so it just allows for the conversations and the insight to be a little more free flowing. Because I feel like now this is somebody that can kind of identify and see in some of my experiences and stuff like that. And so um, you're pulling from more of a lived experience and less of a hypothetical type of thing. So it's been good for me. But my other question for you all would be, why do you feel that people, and I would say, we could put a thing on it. I think men more so are reluctant to go to therapy. Definitely black men are a little more reluctant to go to therapy. And so why do you think that would be the case?
I think one of the big things that you're saying that is a good reason to go, and that's like having an unbiased voice, and like not having a friend that's going to just hype you up because they are your friend.
Mhm.
That is scary because what that means is that we're talking about this person is I'm, I'm paying someone to hold
Mhm.
me accountable,
Mhm.
and
Right.
that's scary. Like, not only are we going to be talking about things that I don't necessarily want to talk about, but you're going to then hold me accountable for that. And I think people find that very scary. And and
I
maybe not
agree.
even scary, just like it uncomfortable or intimidating. Just it's and very unfamiliar for a lot of people because especially on the men's side, but not exclusive to men, but men hide their feelings and are told that they're supposed to hide their feelings. So to go with the explicit intent of saying, here are my feelings, let's talk about it,
Uh,
that's out of the ordinary for them.
Yeah. Yeah. Y-
No, I agree.
Say it again.
I said no, I agree. And not because I'm a man, but just because
Ma-
I put that out there. But I think so. When I worked in mental health, um, one of the things that me as a female, and at the time a younger female with three children, and one of them being a black man and two being black women, um, raising them, and then going into the field and never thinking about black people going to therapy. I was like, oh, that's a white person thing. And then I got into mental health and I seen so many black children who never had a voice, right? So they bottle it up because that's what they are told. Um, I remember having that conversation with P one time where he was saying, "Mom, you always allowed us to cry, but then my dad did not allow me to cry." And so having that opportunity to have a voice, and if you fall and you hurt yourself, being able to have that space to cry. going back saying like meeting these children, and they like, I was not allowed to talk. If something happened to me, you always kept it secret. You just didn't talk about it. And then we have a society of people who have been traumatized that have never been allowed to talk about it, and now you are in a hospital setting, and now you violent because you wasn't allowed to talk about these traumas, and somebody is making you talk about them, and now you just like, why are you making me talk about this? Because the things that you bury in your mind, and one day it's triggered, and you don't know how to deal with it. And like today, when the therapist was talking to me, and she was having me unpack, like talk me through what I was feeling, and then she was giving me feedback on it. I was like, oh my God, how do I navigate? And so she gave me some tools to help me navigate, but I've never had that before. So where do we start? Right? I'm 58 and I'm this is my first time ever going to therapy. So as a child, maybe I should have went to therapy because it was some traumatic things like not being with my father, not being, my mama loved her to death, but she was cray cray. And she probably needed to go to therapy to unpack some of the things that she was, how she was raised, and um the times that she, how well the times this in the times that she was raised, and being with her mother who was a single mother, knowing her father, but he was never in the home, didn't pay child support, didn't, do his responsibilities, and the traumas that she had that she don't talk about it, but you could clearly know, like, you was pregnant at an early age, you was in college, you didn't finish college, you was with a person that was crazy. He didn't go to therapy either. So then you raise children from the traumas that you had that you never unpacked.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think that's a bigger part of it is that a lot of us feel like we can go through life without unpacking those traumas, and so we'll self diagnose ourselves about why we do what we do. Oh, my mama did this, so that's why I do this. This everything, but not really wanting to make a change. Do you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? We want to use that as a crutch and say this is the reason why I do what I do, but don't want to really break out of that path or break out of that. I'm not can't find my words tonight.
It's a lot of times it's a
Pattern, break out of that pattern, and
but a
then
lot of times we talk about generation curses.
mm,
These are things that, because that's how they was raised, or that's, and it's like, wait a minute, why
yeah,
are we not talking about this stuff? Because it's traumatic.
it definitely is. No, it definitely is, and and I think as we continue to grow and live and move about in life, we start to see um, that maybe you don't want to have the life. Not to say it was bad or anything like that, but you want a better life, and so in order to have, I hear parents say that all the time. I want to give my kids a better life than what I had. But
Yeah.
I think part of that, a lot of times we reference material things as that reason. But in reality, um, things such as dealing with traumas and things like that could help in giving your children a better life than what you have. Because, yeah, the material things, nice, beautiful, all that kind of stuff. But
Mhm.
what are you putting inside them
Mhm.
to help them become better human beings as they
Yes.
move forward in life? And I think that's sometimes what we forget. And I think a lot of people shy away from therapy because who wants to have a flashlight on your imperfections? You
Yes.
know what I'm saying? So it's easy. You may know that, but for
Yeah.
somebody else to see those things in you and expose you, um,
It's emotional.
it is, and so that's why a lot of people shy away from it. I urged my father to go, and he says, first time he and I were talking about it, what did he tell me? He said,
I don't need therapy.
no, he said it something along those lines, but he was kind of like, I said what I needed to say. I'm done. I ain't got no more to talk about. And I'm like, sir, from where I sit, you need to
Mhm.
be there every day. Do you know what I'm saying? Because, and that's nothing. That's nothing. That's like to no
No,
shade
it's
to
no
him.
shade. Yeah.
but you really got
You
some
gotta
things you need to
unpack
deal
some
with.
things too. And I
Yeah.
said that to my mama. The same thing. And I'm like, but it might have been, and not because I went. It was just like, Mom, I want you to tell your story.
Mhm.
How was you raised? What made you or what shaped you to the woman that you was and now became, right? And sometimes it's hard to hear that. And it was like I said, I have to talk to somebody because I was I couldn't figure out why I was so sad or why I was thinking the thoughts that I was thinking. And when initially it was like, okay, 30 minutes, okay. And then I'm like, now we're talking an hour. Today when we got off, I was like, damn, I don't think I finished everything I had to say.
Mhm.
So
That's because you like to talk.
unexpected. Huh?
That's because you like to talk.
No, and you know what, Mario? That's funny. I do like to talk, but every time I get on there, I'm like, oh girl, I'm tired. I got 30 minutes for you. And next thing you know, it's 55. I'm like, oh damn, we gotta go. So yes, I do like to talk, but am I talking enough to heal my trauma?
Well, I don't know if it's just talking enough to heal your trauma. I think, like I said before, you have to also put in the work, do
Yes.
the work to heal your trauma. So I guess my next question for you all will be like, have you had? I know Brian, it's been a minute since you've been to therapy, but still, when you went, I'm sure there was an aha moment for you. Like so far, like what was that aha moment in your uh, one of your sessions? You were like the light bulb what kind of went off, and you were like, oh, okay, got it.
It's honestly, I definitely recall having one. I
Mm-hmm.
just don't really remember the nuances of it. So, just kind of backstory. I went to therapy for, I don't want to say suicidal ideation because that was not really a appropriate description of kind of what was going on. It was teenage angst, and specifically a in the closet
Mm-hmm.
gay teenage angst. And it presented itself in a way that scared some people, and rightfully so. Sure, certainly
Right.
should have. And I honestly, I think it was not even, there wasn't a thing that we talked about. There wasn't a moment that, there wasn't anything that he taught me or that said or anything like that. But it was more that going and having a conversation with somebody about these things. Because
Mm-hmm.
what a lot of people assumed at the time was that I had a younger sister who passed away in 1993. So I'd have been 12 at this point. And like I said, it was probably 16, 17, 18 that I was going into therapy. And I think a lot of people assumed that it was related to my sister passing away. We were very close.
Mm-hmm.
And don't get me wrong, maybe a little bit, but that was definitely not the primary component of it.
Mm-hmm.
And but being able to talk to somebody in private and knowing that, like, and I want to say I was like, as I distinctly remember my mother trying to butt her way in and talking about, well, I'm paying for this. He's my kid. You can tell me what you guys talk about. And he was like, no, not really. We're not going to do it that way. And that I think was probably the biggest part, was just having an outlet for. And don't get me wrong, we did not talk about gay stuff
Mm-hmm.
in depth or even like significantly. It was kind of a, here's a thing, okay, that's out in the open, and we didn't really touch on it a lot after
Mm-hmm.
that. But I think just that very fact was kind of my aha moment that, the I can. This is not something that it's going to be a huge secret for the rest of my life, and there was light at the end of the tunnel, so to
Yeah.
speak.
And also maybe it could have been that was just a piece of who you are. Because, a lot of times as gay men, like the fear, like I'll speak for myself, what my fear is that when people find out that you're gay, then that becomes who they identify you as, when in actuality, that's only a piece of who you are. And so maybe to your therapist, that's, yeah, okay, I know you're still trying to figure it out. I know you're trying to this and the third, but that's just a piece of who you are. There's other aspects of you, and that's we need to unpack those as well. So maybe that was what it was.
Yep.
Mama Kim, what was your aha moment?
Just being that person, that empathetic person, right? Is she told me because I had some homework a few weeks ago, before the holiday hit, but having um empathy fatigue,
Mhm.
because taking on all of these people's um traumas, and it started wearing me down. Like, I looked it up, and it was just like listening to people's stories, and you could be empathetic and be like, oh my God, and blah blah blah. But then you get home, and now you thinking about, damn, they got 6 kids. Oh, how they gonna feed them? And then, oh damn, he lost his grandfather. Oh, and just keep on, because some people don't have anybody to talk to,
Mhm.
or a lot of these guys at work have these traumas, and here I am, and they crying on my shoulder. I'm like, they probably never cried in front of nobody ever before, because they've been told, no, you don't do that. That's a punk. Like, you don't cry. And so when she said, hey, you have empathy fatigue, and I was like, and so I was telling my mama about it. She was like, that's not a real thing. I said, Mom, you ain't never been to therapy. This is a real fucking thing, girl. I looked it up, and I'm like, damn, that's me. And just for this therapist to listen to me, and she just said, she was like, you have empathy fatigue. And it's something that is just who you are. You just one of them people that's a good person, that's want everybody to have an okay life. But that's not realistic. So how do you now protect yourself? So that's the piece that I have to work through. That's my homework for this week. But protecting yourself. And me and Mario, that's one of the things that me and you have talked about for years now, and you have finally starting to come to your own with that.
Girl,
Um,
this ain't about me, honey. I just asked you a question about you, sunshine.
mm.
Thank
But
you.
anyway, you just and how many times I've told you I'm so proud of you starting to put your foot down and figuring it out, because it's a thing that is a long time coming, and just having peace.
All right, yeah. So, and I think for me, my aha moment, or one of them, because I've had several, but one of them that really sticks out is that how people treat you is a reflection of how you treat yourself. And um, initially, I didn't fully understand that. I didn't fully get it. I was like, "Man, you don't know what you're talking about." But it makes sense, to me, once I really gave it some thought, it really made sense to me. If people see how you treat yourself, then they feel that they can treat you accordingly. Um, and if you don't have any boundaries for yourself, then I can ease my way on in however I can, um, because you don't stand for anything. You do, if that makes sense. And so when I really got that, when it started to resonate with me, it became more of a thing for me. I think the second thing he said that I fought tooth and nail against, he was like, "Well, you're gonna have to lose some things to make room for what is really supposed to be there," and
Hmm.
that is probably the hardest. As I'm still going through that, that's the hardest, probably the hardest lesson in dealing with it, because um, I don't. It's not so much the losing part of it, but I want to see the gain. And right now I'm in the losing phase of things, so I don't see the gaining, and so that's scary because it's like I don't, I'm at peace with some of the things I've had to lose and shed, but I don't really see the pathway to get the replacement, so to speak.
Right.
But you just have to trust and believe that it's coming. So we'll see. But again, I found it to be very helpful. One more thing I wanted to share is that um, I listened to Mel Robbins, her podcast, and so um, and I listened today to her conversation with Hoda from, I think she was from the Today Show, and
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't necessarily about therapy, but one thing that Hoda said that resonated with me, that kind of goes along the lines of therapy. She, we all know, or I don't know if you guys know, that she had a battle with breast cancer. Um, and so she was saying that she, was going through breast cancer and all the things, and um, was doing going on assignment for the Today Show in like Ireland or something like that. And so she would say it was like kind of one of her worst experiences. She wasn't feeling well. She was just downtrodden, and got on the plane. Most of us a lot of times get on the plane. Listen, hey, okay, we sit next to each other, but we ain't on it. Listen, I ain't here to talk. But sit
Right.
on the plane. And so she was kind of had that
Mhm.
mentality. She was about to put her headphones in and stuff like that. And the guy that was sitting next to her, who was like, she had something on her arm, and he was like, yeah, I guess a compression sleeve. And he was like, what do you have that for? And so she was like, well, I had a procedure done. He was like, for what? And she was like visibly getting irritated, but she said he was a nice guy. And she was like, I had surgery. And of course, he had another, question to probe. And so she was like, listen, I've had breast cancer, yada, yada, yada. And she was like, and so, but don't, when you get off of this plane, don't go talking about, I met this girl, they had breast cancer and yada, yada, this and the third. And he was like, well, his response to her was like, well, what's wrong with you? You know, um, and the
Mm.
words he said to her, she said she always remember is like, your journey is not just for you. And I think it was, your journey is not just for you. I don't want to misquote it. Um, but don't hog your journey because it's not just for you. So because she was trying to hide her, or didn't really share about her breast cancer experience. So he said, don't hog your journey. It's not just for you. And that, I felt was powerful, because a lot of times when you hear people say they're suffering in silence and things of that nature, because they don't want to share what they're going through, but not realizing that sometimes what you're going through could help somebody else. And I think that sometimes it gets lost in the shuffle. Um, and that kind of, I was like, oh wow, that was a kind of one of my main takeaways from her talk with Mel Robbins. But yeah, I thought that was interesting, because a lot of times, we do want to suffer in silence, so to speak, and keep whatever we're going through to ourselves, because we don't want to bore somebody else with it or something like that. But not realizing your journey could help heal somebody else.
Right. And I think, even more so than suffering in silence, I think, you know, especially public figures, like they don't want to ruin their image, they don't want to scare people, they don't want their, like, there's all these well-intentioned things that they are probably thinking of that are well-intentioned, like truly and legitimately well-intentioned. And yet, like you said, you're still depriving those people of the potential inspiration from your story, the strength from your story, the positive things that come out of yeah, it's scary. Yeah, it sucks. Cancer is not a good deal, but sometimes hearing that other people have gone through it could be very inspirational to somebody. But I also will say, I don't necessarily agree that you have an obligation
Mhm.
to be that person for somebody. And this goes back to Mama Kim's experience with therapy of, you know, being somebody that gets trauma dumped on them. And that is, if you need to be solitary when you're dealing with something that is very difficult, you have no obligation, morally or otherwise, to provide that for someone else's benefit. So there's a balance is certainly necessary, and it's finding that balance can probably be tricky sometimes.
Mhm. I would agree with that. But then, Mama Kim, though, let's be honest, she is one of those people, though, that is. So when she says, and I hate to speak on you like you're not there, but
Right.
when she says
I'm here.
people are dumping on her, she somewhat invites it.
For sure.
Because her one of her
Mm,
favorite lines is, "I just want people to be okay." So, and with
mm,
that being said, when you want everybody to be okay, you solicit some of
Yeah.
those things, and so maybe you may have to find the balance between wanting everybody to be okay and not taking. How do you do that? I want you to be okay, but I don't want you to emotionally dump on me. Do you know what I'm saying? And maybe that's the way
no, that's,
you have to find a balance in that.
mhm.
Because I think it's just in your nature to want, you slightly caring nature,
Boy,
depending.
fucking die. Ah!
But your
Shit.
your caring nature, so you have to find, like, again, the balance of how can I show empathy and show that I care, but
Mm.
not too much or not to the detriment of myself.
Oh, absolutely. And
Yeah.
that's the part of the therapy that we just now are unpacking and getting to understanding my balance and when is enough of your emotional trauma enough for me to handle, and then walk away to still make sure that you are catered to, but also making sure that I'm not taking on that your trauma. So finding the balance and when, and like I said, when to walk away. You know what? And sometimes people start talking about, I can't today. Um, and just letting people know, like, hey, I'm sad too, or I had a bad day, or I walked into the building and somebody gave me bad news before I walked in, and I might not be able to handle it. I told her associate that yesterday, and she came up to me. She's like, "Can I talk to you?" I said, "Are you going to be mean to me?" I said, "Because I can't handle it today." And
Sound
she,
like a little kid. Are you gonna be mean to me?
yes, I need to know because she reported me to HR, and I
Oh,
was like, "You reported me to HR because you were wrong."
yeah,
She's like, "I just misunderstood you." I said, "How did you misunderstand that you were violating the policy?" She's
yeah.
like, "'Cause nobody ever else said anything." I said, "But you knew you was wrong." And so she apologized and stuff like that, and we was cool. But she was, I said, "Baby, I know you give your partner hell because you's a little baby and you was giving me hell." But just making sure that my peace is protected and being okay. So that's one of the things that I'm working on, and going to therapy is helping me to get through that piece of unpacking in my life that I've never done before.
Brian, do you think you'll ever pick it back up?
Maybe. If I ever felt like there was a need, I don't agree with the very first video that you played, of the girl giving her 5 reasons. She specifically said, like, it's for everybody all the time, and I don't agree with that. But if I felt a need, absolutely. I'm not against the idea or anything like that. I also don't. It it's a big time commitment that I simply don't really feel like I have a big need to undertake right now.
And see, now respectfully, I say that is, I agree with her on that point because I feel like that there is, eh, everybody can benefit from some form of it. Whether it be large or small, it may not be, a traumatic experience like that, but just able to just navigate through life in general. Some of this, just giving some tools to navigate through life. So I feel like everybody can benefit from it. Not to say you need to go every day, every week, or something like that, but I think a consistent or a routine check in is beneficial.
Okay.
But I don't know. and I didn't ever think that this lady here would go, but look at her
Absolutely.
now, and her intentions for going. I won't expose your intentions for going
Please.
initially, but see, the creator saw something different for you and said, "Listen, okay, you're going for this reason, but I'm going to get you to get something else out of it." So,
Absolutely.
um, it's been good for you. So, whatever
Mhm.
reason took you there, you're there now. So, great
Absolutely.
conversation, guys, and good insight and everything like that. So, I
Mhm.
appreciate you bringing that topic to the group, Brian.
Yeah, thank
Yeah,
you, Maya.
absolutely.
Mhm.
Yep, yep, yep. So before we get out of here, I know I mentioned it at the top of the show, and we went a little longer today than we typically would. But again, I felt it was a good conversation. But again, if for those who are in the Indianapolis area, 1/18/2026, the Hip Hop Leather Party, Flossie and Mad Max will be doing yet another collaboration. So I think this is their third, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. And so third collaboration, a lot of success thus far. DJ Ebox will be spinning I don't even know if people say the ones and twos anymore. However, um,
I do.
they do. All
Yeah.
right. Spinning the ones and twos, our very own DJ Ebox will be doing that. And so it'll be a great time. It'll be a great time. I think I will be there this time. I'm pretty sure.
Nice.
Pretty sure of it. So yeah. But again, and as you can see, for your hater, that he stays booking busy. Thanks. No need for you to say anything, Sunshine. All right. Anyway,
All right, and he see this. You see how I'm calm now? That's because I had a session today.
You had a good
Now
session
tomorrow
today.
I might cuss
Excellent.
his ass out, but
ain't
hey,
gonna cuss me out tomorrow, honey. Don't do that. Stay. Keep it
stay calm.
yourself. What's her name? What's your Jan?
Rich.
Louise? Rachel.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Mm.
Anyway, anyway, thank y'all for joining us. And we please remember to like, share, and subscribe. We're trying to get our subscriptions up, trying to hit 100 subscribers. We are at currently at like 82, so
Nice.
we need a few more to get to the 100, and then we'll have a new goal from there and everything like that. But anyway, we're back. Look for more episodes coming in the future, and we will see you all soon. Have a good night.
Good night.